be discussing a lot of things other than when the results will come, we will update you guys. So I have a very distinguished panel. Some more will be joining us. I have my old friend, Ms. Marvi Sarma. She doesn't need any introduction. And I have Norez. Norez is economist, I must say that. I mean, I don't know, Norez, what you are doing in Washington, D.C., it's not fair. Pakistan need economists. Come on, man.
See, I'm more than happy to further my services to the cause of Pakistan. And I think there's an urgent need that we do need technocrats, not just like myself, but, in various other domains. But currently, I'm based in Washington, D.C., working with the World Bank.
Oh, yes. Right now you are doing a great job, and get some lobbying for Pakistan, and that would be helpful for everybody over there. So, with your permission, I want to start with Marvi. Marvi, how you see the overall election? What is happening?
Elections are happening. I mean, I don't see anything.
I mean, on top of election, I mean.
On top of election, it's just a continuously ongoing theme which is going on in Pakistan in terms of democracy, democratic processes, electoral processes. I don't see anything new that is happening in this election. To borrow from Ambassador Haqqani, it feels like a rerun of 2018 general elections, except the changes in the positions of the faces. The same face, but on different positions and in different circumstances. Other than that, it's exactly the same situation that was. Actually, not exactly the same situation. What I mean to say is when in 2018, when we saw Nawaz Sharif, his party, Bilawal Bhutto Zardari in his party, they were at a disadvantageous position, and the entire system seemed to have elected itself against them. That included the judiciary, that included the law enforcement, that included the civilian executive administrative power, and that included the military. Everyone seemed to be, and media, and very powerful sections of civil society as well. Everyone seemed to be against People's Party and PMLN. But now you see against PTI, you don't see this kind of unanimous, feeling among, at least that's not the impression that I get. I think there are parts of judiciary that are still ready to stand for Imran Khan. There are parts of media, very, very powerful sections of media. You can see our senior colleague and a friend Hamid Mir, who has become a voice for PTI, or at least a voice against what he perceives as happening in the electoral process. And there are so many other media faces, prominent opinion makers. There's showbiz people who are for rooting for Imran Khan. So you cannot compare it completely to 2018, but you can say that what is happening, if whatever the complaints of Imran Khan's party are, those complaints are not new. I mean, you can't say this is unprecedented rigging. You could say in 2018 that was unprecedented before that, but now it's not unprecedented. We have seen it all. We have seen this exactly the same thing in 2018 and before also.
Marvi, this is the question I raised to one of the anchor person just a couple of days ago. Exactly same thing I asked, that 2018, nobody was shedding tears of what was happening, the way Prime Minister was kicked out and this and that. But this time, big anchors, they were supporting, oh, geez, it's anti-democratic. And, yesterday I was listening Mansoor Ali Khan and, and Jio's whole panel, other than Shahzeb Khanzada, who is talking differently. So his point was, okay, I'm not telling it is his or her, but assume it's his. His point was that Actually, last election, they were under tremendous pressure by the establishment to say what they used to say. This year, it is freedom. So my question to them was...
Not complete freedom, though.
Huh?
Not complete freedom.
Not
I mean, not
complete.
sorry, I'm cutting off. Not complete freedom, because even right now you can't say the name of Imran Khan on an official on a national TV channel in Pakistan.
Yes. So, Norris, how you see this whole thing? Of course, there is election going on. Still, results are not there, although they are announcing, but it is like 5%, 2%. Unless it is 50%, I don't believe it fully what they say that. So you please comment.
Misbah sir, absolutely. Thank you for the opportunity. So, like, before we talk about what is currently happening, I would like to someone just take a step back and evaluate this from more eagle-eye bird view. I agree with Marvi Saiba that absolutely it's the same script that is happening again. What happened in 2018, we see it manifesting in 2024 as well. It's just that the key players have changed. But there's another dynamic that we tend to ignore, and that is the fact that the world, not just Pakistan, that the world has glaringly changed over the last 5 years. The things are much more precarious if you look at the geopolitical landscape, if you look at the international political economy landscape. There's a Ukraine-Russia war that's happening. There's been an energy crisis. There was a pandemic. And if you look at just Pakistan's external debt in 2018 was about 93 billion. Now today it's almost 130 billion. So the challenges that we are grappling with, they're of a much greater intensity compared to those that Pakistan as a country and the world itself was facing. And even if you zoom into Pakistan's political landscape as well, we underwent something like the May 9th. There's like insurmountable, unprecedented levels of polarization, not just among political parties, but also among the people, the masses who align with, different ideologies of different political parties. So at this point, the key purpose of holding elections, which have already been delayed for 4 months, is to make sure that the trust in the nation is reinvigorated. You're trying to come towards reinforcement, reconciliation, so that you can take the step forward. But in 2024, what makes it much more dangerous and much more fragile and vulnerable is the fact that while we may be repeating the same script, but the repercussions can be far more devastating. We know that there's a certain party which, is being favored by the power brokers, and their association has manifested over the course of the last 1.5 years, due to which other parties and their supporters may feel disenfranchised, they may feel disillusioned. And that is the big question, that going forward, how is that going to impact Pakistan? Like the stability that Pakistan very importantly needs, the stability, the political stability that further drives and is the foundation for economic stability. And things are already looking, very much abysmal. Just this last year, 2023, an additional 12.5 million people were pushed into poverty. Initially, the numbers were 32%. Today, more than 40% are below poverty line. And what I'm worried of is the fact that this economic turmoil, we tend to state it very technically, but it can cause into it could lead to civil war, it could lead to social disruptions. When people won't have food to put on the table, they won't have food to feed their kids with. We don't know how things would, pan out. No, it's a very good point. And while Norris was talking, Rabia Mahmood also joined us. Everybody is aware of who is Rabia Mahmood. She is almost permanent. She gives appearances on Neandor TV. So, Rabia, what we are talking about, Norris raised some very interesting point. And before that, Marvi's first point was that although elections are the same way which Norris, I'm sorry, Norris, I keep calling you Norris. So
So please pardon me if I say that, or please correct me. You are most welcome to interrupt me and correct me. So Nore's point was the economy changes, world economy, geopolitics change, everything is changing now. So of course, the impact we are seeing on the election. Marvi raised another important point that although the elections are very similar, like last time, only the faces change. But the thing is that her main thrust was that the media in Pakistan is not really as hostile to Imran Khan like they were. Well, they were not hostile to People's Party and PMLN, but they are more like like a who cares kind of thing. They were all celebrating Imran Khan's victory, although
Media was very hostile to Nawaz Sharif.
Yeah, that's true.
Absolutely hostile. In 2018, they were absolutely unreasonably hostile to both.
Yeah, especially some of those people who were yesterday talking a lot about democratic process and all that. They were hostile. Let's not take their names here. So, Rabia, please tell us how you see overall situation and comment on Nore's and Marvi's comments also, please.
Okay, I caught some of Nore's commentary. Sorry to have missed out on what Marvi was saying. I just really wanted to hear her speak. Always want to listen to her analysis. So yeah, I would start from there. What Marvi was saying, that the complete hostility and censorship in the mainstream press. And in the newsrooms in the lead up to last elections and after the July 25 2018 elections. One remembers it very clearly. Those were years of very brutal censorship in newsrooms, on television, and on the digital side as well. We had seen what was happening to the PTM and other movements right afterwards as well. I should apologize, my internet is terrible, so if I am please point up. If you can't hear me, let me know. So that was there, and in the years following the 2018 elections as well. And there was, of course, social media linked repression. There was arbitrary arrests and disappearances of political workers at that time, commentators and journalists, and police cases. We have seen some of that in the lead up to this election as well. But I would want to speak about what we've seen today. Concerns on human rights and social justice issues, they remain. Because unfortunately, we, just like last time and last government and last parliament, even now, we've seen the exclusion of the Ahmadiyya. We've seen commentary from the Christian, former members of Punjab Assembly and other voters, how they have spoken about buying of votes in certain constituencies in the Punjabs. I'm specifically commenting on the Punjab, but overall, the cell phones suspension of the cell phone service today was very disturbing. I mean, it's no a secret that I and my colleagues have been very critical of the previous government or the previous parliament, Imran Khan's administration, the administration of the coalition parties, the PDM afterwards, and of course, this caretaker government was very disastrous in many ways. But just doing this, we've seen this has been happening in the past few weeks as well. But doing it today, what exactly was going through the minds of the powers that be and those who decided to do it? PTA has said there was no government instruction to do it. Then who switched off that switch, that kill switch? We had internet at home, but we didn't have any connectivity on phones. For the press to do their job, for people to connect with each other, political parties and all. And then at the same time, for security, it's so farcical for the powers that be or anyone who calls the shots in Pakistan to always say this was for your own security. From Muharram to like an election day, it's always the security concern. And unfortunately, targeting police officials was still targeted. and then the blast in Pishin, less than 48 hours back. That was really terrible. Like, for instance, my family and anyone else who were outside, they couldn't get in touch with their families. So that was one of the things which I thought on multiple levels. As a journalist, of course, I couldn't get in touch with some journalists in KP. I could barely speak to a few in Balochistan to look into what was happening, because there were reports coming in that the women had taken over some of the polling stations and were protesting, because as we know that there have been like a few months long very strong campaign taking place in Balochistan, which is a people's movement, right? All of that which has been happening on the peripheries, we couldn't really assess or look into that situation much, and you can't be objective about things when this happens, right? And it makes everyone look bad. Whoever made this decision didn't miscalculate it, or they did it by design because they wanted the upcoming setup to look terrible. And it just it's been very chaotic today. So definitely wanted to point it out, and agreeing with what was discussed before. But yes, of course, the kind of censorship the previous the government which before 2018, that kind of censorship does not exist at the moment, because the pushback is also there, right? It's not as it's terrible. It's still, it's a continuation of the kind of censorship and repression we've seen of freedom of expression and other rights. But it's not. I don't want to create hierarchies, but it's not as brutal, as it used to be. There are things being discussed.
If I if I could just briefly come in, just to Rabia's point, that I personally feel that it's a very old school, typical trick, disrupting the network coverage. And the way I see it, it's been done to discourage, to demotivate, and to disincentivize people from partaking in the election process.
True.
It's a tactic that has been used and employed to deter, better and improve turnout. And it's only one of the various tactics that have been employed. We see that certain polling stations weren't opened up for voting up until 2 p.m. or 3 p.m. These things are coming to the forefront as people are sharing on social media what has been happening. And, it begs the question as to why this manipulation is being done, because I don't want to use the word rigging. It has a negative connotation, and, it further spurs greater instability. But the fact is that the less the turnout is, there's greater room for voting manipulation during and after the election happens.
No, definitely there was a lot of mismanagement. We were looking at some of the social media, and people were saying it took them 3 hours or 4 hours to figure out where to go. And then we have seen reports of in certain constituencies in Karachi and elsewhere where people had gathered, but the station wasn't opened. So there was an extension given. That kind of a lot of mismanagement beyond that. So, but it was very chaotic today on so many fronts.
I would like to go to Marvi. So, Marvi, how you comment on what Rabia say and what Noresh say there?
I absolutely agree with both of them. But I just want to flag that in 2018, I was part of the election monitoring team. Actually, I was coordinating the election monitoring team from HRCP, Human Rights Commission of Pakistan. And I and my team, we actually combed through Islamabad and Rawalpindi polling stations. And throughout the day, after casting our own votes, we were into many polling stations, and it was extremely chaotic. Nothing that Rabia and Noresh are saying is new to me, and I'm sure it is not new to them as well, because they have been in this for a long time now, and they have watching what happens in Pakistan's electoral exercise. It's absolutely not new. 2018 election day, 25th July, was absolutely chaotic. Something new had happened that day was that the polling stations, which were like some schools, most of the times they were schools, especially women's polling stations. Now, the names of those schools were changed in official records. Though APS had happened 4 years ago at that time, and after the names of the martyred students of APS throughout Islamabad, government schools names were changed. Now, people had no idea these names had been changed. You called, you sent messages to 8300, and you were told blah blah school, no address, and you were left on your own to figure out where that particular school was. Because, Google Maps was not helping people, so people were absolutely unsure where that particular school, where that particular polling station was. A lot of polling stations were not wheelchair accessible, so my parents could not vote. A lot of people I know could not vote because of that. The voting process, polling process was made painfully slow. A lot of people had to go back despite standing in the queues for the whole day. They had to go back without voting at the end of the day. And that's how the polling, the percentage of votes, was kept lower. That's how they manage. So Pakistan's election machinery is not capable of holding more than, I would say, 40 to 50% of votes, casting of votes. Unfortunately, they have not been able to improve in that regard, despite so many years. I was hoping that, because when I left Pakistan in 2019, by the way, before the elections of 2018, I was part of, actually, I designed that aid framework between Pakistan and European Union, a project which was a program, 5 years program, capacity building program for election Commission of Pakistan and the Parliament of Pakistan. Put together 30 million euros were coming to Pakistan, and my team and I, we designed this painstakingly after 6-7 months research and assessments and consultations. We designed that program. We were bringing 30 million euros, and Pakistan's government did not agree. At the end of the nick of the time, they did not agree to that agreement. That money never came to Pakistan Election Commission. They had made excellent plans, strategic plan to improve their capacity. That did not happen. It is still not happening. I'm so disappointed that despite all the money from the government of Pakistan's own resources coming to Election Commission, the capacity is still there where it was in 2018. I'm not sure, because I'm here, I'm in the USA. I have not visited any polling stations. So people who are there, probably Rabia is there, I'm not sure, but whosoever is there, the spot reporters, they would tell you more about how they feel about election commissions.
So those things are, like very common to Pakistan, that, these mismanagements and all that. And of course, after the elections, we are going to see some people will be complaining, and then recountings and all those kind of things. Some petitions will be filed and all that. So that is going to happen no matter what. I mean, that is the way it is. Rabia, let's talk a little bit, because see, we are from the media, and still the election results are not quite out. I mean, they are coming, but we will discuss those once there is something significant. But let's talk about the role of media in general. I mean, overall, how you rate the Pakistani media, who are, and the media anchors, and you meet with them also and ask them also. Because see, the thing is that why I am asking this question to my panelists. For some time, this is the common, it's a kind of cliche in the media, that if results will not be considered, that will come according to their, and who knows, we all know who is their will, there will be no elections. Okay, then election came. Qazi Faizi announced that elections date came. Okay, election dates came. After election date came, then it was there that if there will be free and fair elections, PTI is going to win. It means the way I am outsider sitting there, I am seeing that if PTI does not win means there is a thing. So elections were made controversial by the media and over again. This rhetoric was going on. One incident happened. Oh, geez, they grabbed them, they nabbed them, and this is coming from the top of the line anchor persons. How you see that. By the way, before you start, Umar Bhatti also joined us. Thank you, Umar. So we are talking to Rabia. Rabia is going to comment on the role of the media and the top anchors of the media. Rabia.
Okay, I'll get to that first. When I was listening to Marvi, I was thinking that whatever she's telling us in detail, because she was on the ground, she was such a part of the, because of her role, professional role at that time. We have this. It's great to have that reminder, right? Because it also goes to tell us that those who claim that so much of what is happening in Pakistan is unprecedented is basically not unprecedented. So that comment really addresses or debunks those claims. Unfortunately, nothing to be, nothing to celebrate about here. Yeah.
True.
I actually, Ms. Pasab, I left mainstream media years back myself. I used to work for the mainstream media, and I've sort of been associated with alternate digital media space first through Naya Daur, which was since 2017, and mostly human rights documentation of human rights violations, that space. So I am not much of an observer of the mainstream media anymore, and I have I extend my solidarity to them when it comes to repression and censorship and targeting of journalists, and yet I don't have patience for that anymore. And that's why we have, I mean, there are multiple reasons for it, but that's also one of the reasons why we have seen some of the digital media space thriving, and so many journalists who've turned to YouTube and other platforms. One of the reasons is because of censorship, and because people are on internet a lot. But some of that is also because that kind of support that mainstream media used to have, they don't have that anymore. And yes, as far as analysis is concerned, we see that people have an opinion on things, and they have made the election controversial. But the election, to be fair, is already controversial because of what happened in the past year and a half, and what has happened to PTI, and of course when in 2018 what was happening to PMLN and PPP, and the arrests and targeting of censorship of like their reporting, and of reporting on those cases and their targeting, and of course at that time the fact that those parties couldn't campaign, and now this one party couldn't campaign freely. So the elections are already controversial, right? It's not to say there was not good things happening. There was some stuff, some candidates we looked at with hope, with towards Amar Ali Jan, Gibran Nasir, Savira Prakash, Nayab Ali, who's a trans activist turned, she contested the elections. So there were these like little stories there. Even today, there were stories coming up of people who showed up to vote, regardless of who they voted for, so there were these stories, but I would say that because of the mainstream media, but also the online space and what was being articulated more, and I think the network suspension also comes into play here. It's one of the down of sort of. That's why it's terrible. We couldn't really see much of what was happening today. We couldn't really see much of it, right? We couldn't While we couldn't see the bad, we also couldn't see the good. So but because we're journalists, or because we are in this space, we are sort of more inclined to look at where are all the negatives, and to pinpoint all of that, the dark stuff. But yeah, and as far as the mainstream media is concerned, my position on them is that they have that's an issue with how some analysts are, not all of them, and there's a lot of noise that the people love speculation, And there's very little difference between analysis and speculation here. So you don't really, and that's what I was thinking today. I was like, where is the real analysis? Who do I read? Who do I watch if I want to understand things a bit more? Because there's already so much chaos and uncertainty, and I mean, it's like you say, there is fog of war, there's fog of this election today. We can't really say anything other than the fact that what are the initial results of some of the stations that we've seen. Yes.
There is an issue. Umar, with your permission, I will want to have a Norris's comment on that. Then I will come to you. So, Norris, how you see that?
Well, Mizawal, the thing is that we can keep on beating around the bush, but the true thing that we need to highlight is the fact that there is a power broker, and I feel sympathetic towards the media because we tend to criticize mainstream media regardless of what they're doing. When they're not voicing things that they should be, they're not bringing things to the forefront, we tend to criticize them for not being vocal enough. Sometimes they're pushing things, they're highlighting things. For example, the social and the political scenarios that were over the last few weeks. We saw certain people not belonging to a certain political party catastrophically targeted. And those who are raising voice, we tend to again criticize them as well by comparing that these people were not vocal enough back in 2018. So the truth is that, and also to coming back to Marty's point, that in 2018 the electoral infrastructure was not happening. In 2024, it's equally bad. The thing is that it's not that we could have rectified that. It's because systematically these things, these various tools and vehicles, whether that's the media, whether that's the infrastructure, has been kept that way so that those power brokers, we know everyone knows they are, they can carry on with whatever their strategic objectives are. Because the more efficient the entire system becomes, the more efficient the reporting becomes, the more efficient the election process becomes, it's very hard then for those people, for those stakeholders to manipulate things at their whim and at their will. So this is my response to both Rabi and
Umar, welcome to the show, first of all, and we are talking about media's role. Okay, there is one point which Norris just raised here, that how the things are kept, like election commission powerless, and so that manipulation is easy. But there is a little problem here. When Qazi Faiz Isa gave this verdict about the election commission's petition, that what election commission said was right, that time very big voices in Pakistani media were arguing that now election commission will be so powerful that they will be used to manipulate the system. Now that there is a question, it's some sort of paradox here, that I want the election commission to be powerful, but in the same time, I don't want it to be powerful. If it is powerful, it may be used. So don't you think, going back to this logic, we should close our military because military is too powerful. We should we should close all our judiciary because judiciary is being used for that. So how you comment on that, Umar?
Look, I think look, thank you for having me on the show, Ms. Masab. Look, I think
our pleasure.
Basically, the reason why election commission of Pakistan became controversial much before Justice Qazi Faiz Isa delivered the judgment on the election symbol of bat. The ECB had become controversial much before that because you had the ousted prime minister and main opposition leader in the country, Imran Khan, targeting Sikandar Sultan Raja, who was also the chief election commissioner. So we saw a tirade of attacks on social media and on traditional media by PTI and their supporters to target one man in particular. So much so that their name was thrown out in public and media, and they were named and shamed as being personal servants of the Sharif family. This is the level of propaganda we saw from one side of the political aisle. So, at the end of the day, we see that in most countries, and even in Pakistan, the method adopted by right-wing populists is to decimate anything that stands in their way by targeting them creating public enemy number one out of them, by ensuring that they are portrayed as enemies of the people, really. And I think the Election Commission had to face the heat. They had to bear the brunt of those harsh attacks from one political party, and media that is sympathetic to them, and media that is friendly to them. These are facts, by the way. So at the end of the day, I think this is what has led to the Election Commission being controversial. When in reality, and even as we speak right now, we see quite a few results where the independents from the Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf are leading their constituencies and respective constituencies. And if by the end of the night, the independents of the PTI end up being in majority, then all attacks on the Election Commission will stand meritless. And that will expose how brutally and radically one institution was targeted by a political party just so they could expedite their own politics. That's my take on it.
Marvi, what do you think? I mean, the thing is that do you think it is good for the democracy if Election Commission will be very powerful and decide? Of course, any powerful institution can be used by the most powerful institution in the country. But the thing is does that mean we should make sure it will not be as powerful? I mean, I find it a little bit very difficult to believe, and this thing is coming from quote unquote big voices of the media. Please go ahead.
I don't understand what is coming from big voices of media. That election,
that if Election Commission would be given that much authority to question the political party if they do the election according to their constitution, and then if they don't, they cancel their election symbol. So that power should not be with the Election Commission.
Ms. Saab, I think it's a cliche, but I'm forced to repeat it. Absolute power corrupts absolutely. So yes, I would like Election Commission or Party Electoral Commission in any country should be powerful enough to enforce election laws and hold the elections as per the spirit and letter and spirit of democracy. Now, but should it be left unaccountable? No. Like any other administrative machinery, Electoral Commission cannot be left unaccountable. So what needs to be done is, one, I do not agree that Election Commission does not have power or should not have power to ask the political parties to ensure internal democracy, and the intra-party elections are one small indicator of internal democracy. I don't think Election Commission does not have it. It should have this power, but what it cannot do and should not be allowed to do is singling out one party or couple of parties. There needs to be a system. Our problem with these slogans, these are absolutely delicious slogans. Anti-corruption. Oh my God, who doesn't want anti-corruption? Who doesn't want kaleidoscopic political parties to learn that the system should not be held hostage by them? Who doesn't want all that? But we use all these slogans to for the political interests of the few. We do not, I don't think those who have been raising the slogans of anti-corruption and free and fair election, they actually want that, because nothing they have done or said so far indicates that they want it. All the emphasis is on persons, individuals, personalities. None of them have come up with any workable recommendation or suggestion to improve the system, actually. If you do not want any government machinery, including the Election Commission, to go overboard and to not follow the law, or to be selective in the application of law, in the implementation of law, you don't want the individuals to carry the burden. You want the system, how the system allows Election Commission to be so. How and where in the system the holes are there, and how we can actually fill those holes. The election laws need to be revised and reviewed. I know election laws have been revised and reviewed so many times, but this is how nations throughout the world learn. This is how they improve themselves, and this is how we will improve our democracy if we continuously keep correcting ourselves. And we have learned that we need to give power. We need to make election commission powerful enough to implement law, but we also need accountability on every powerful institution in this country. So the laws, election laws, and the laws that govern election commission should be, I think, revised and reviewed by the political parties who come to the parliament in the next mandate. And that's where, I think there is no other secret sauce to improve the graph and the side. So, should be powerful. That is one thing. But the key word that should be used and should be debated is how autonomous that institution is. So, as long as there's autonomy,
there's no trust. And as long as there's another institution, which in this case is the military, is more powerful than the ECP or than the judiciary, then those institutions can be coerced. And at whichever point they are being coerced, then it renders their power just being completely obsolete. So there's no point to it. Secondly, to Umar's point, he said, he hypothesized that if the independents win more seats eventually, then it would mean that the ECP was never not in favor of them and the entire argument would be futile. But again, that is conjecture. But the other thing is that what were the other incidents that led to the selection happening? PTI did not get symbol, which obviously has an impact on whatever seats that they would be able to get. Secondly, the buck does not stop at the election. After the election, when people make it to parliament, what happens to these independent candidates? They're still everyone knows that some may be going to one party, some may to another party. And then thirdly, PTI or just PTI backed independents would not have access to the reserve seats which other political parties. So this entire manipulation has already happened, and we cannot deny the role of the ECP, and we can't say that it happened by the autonomy or that anything completely unbalanced. Yeah. Can I jump in on that? Look, in 2020, we had this wave of by-elections that advanced week. On the eve of that election, we were alleged that the ECP is involved in rigging of some sort, and in the end, we saw that winning. Not shortly afterwards, before the ECP was supposed to announce the foreign funding its verdict, the election commission chairperson was found to be a person of the Bushri family. On one hand, you were a critical leader with a right-wing populist, fair enough, to do credit to his politics and how he conducted. But he would not stop at making public enemy number one or targeting anybody who stands in their way. We talked about institutions being powerful in parliament, but not really mention how important an institution can be talking about. I think the journey of an institution from being powerful to parliament lies within its evolution and from the Election Commission of Pakistan's perspective and standpoint, we've seen the body evolve over years to the point that this time around, they managed to ensure that accountability of a political party took place by ensuring that their intra-party elections were aligned or with the constitution of that particular party. Yes, the same should be applied on PMLN and Pakistan People's Party or any other party for that matter. But it's an evolutionary process for institutions to use their rules, use laws, and then use them to good effect, and also use them to good effect whereby they can manifest their importance and ensure accountability takes place. Yes, they have to take a process. It has to be across the board for sure. I think it's an evolutionary process. It has to start somewhere. By the next election, it is very likely. Is the PMLN or the PPP or the ANP or MQM, for example, whose intra-party elections come under scrutiny for not meeting their own party's constitution. So I believe it's an evolutionary process. It takes time. And therefore, I think with what the past few months have shown us is that the Election Commission has come forward as a largely independent and autonomous body that is capable of taking decisions even when it's faced by a wave of attacks,
not just on social media, but also on traditional media by one political party in question. So in that sense, kudos to, I would say, the Election Commission for conducting this election in whatever manner they could at the end of the day.
Yeah. So my co-host Faraz Darwish has just joined, and he would be asking some more questions. But before that, Norris, do you have any kind of comment making on what Umar just said?
Well, absolutely. First of all, I wouldn't frame it as something PTI versus non-PTI parties. And I'll quote Mr. Bilawal Bhutto, who is the chairperson of Pakistan People's Party in verbatim. What he said very recently is that these elections are far from a level playing field. So it's not just the sentiment that the PTE holds or owns. It's a very prevailing sentiment. And the legitimacy and the authenticity of these elections that is being questioned, even weeks before the elections are meant to take place, signifies or signals the fact that there is meant to be made. And again, like I said, it's not being a proponent of the PTI or being anti-PTI or any other party. It's the fact that ECP derives its power when and so it aligns with the motives of a higher power, which in this case is the military. And so, it'll be more interesting to see when and if the ECP or other branches of our institution tends to take a stance when it head-on collides with the incentives of, those who, are at the back end of all these manipulations.
Faraz, please,
final comment.
Okay, go ahead first.
No, like I agree to the extent that institutions need to be autonomous and be empowered in a manner that they don't derive all of their authority from the military. But institutions aren't homogeneous by nature as well. The institutions are fluid in the way they operate in Pakistan. There are pockets of spaces where they can manifest their power in a better manner. There are windows where they can exercise more authority, and then there are cases where they're unable to take on a political party. So institutions often lack political will as well when the establishment stands against them, which is why I think the revolutionary process is important. The election that is happening today is marred by questions on its legitimacy and credibility. But as far as the Election Commission of Pakistan and its whole capacity is concerned, that's not been part of blatant pre-election or elections bidding against the PGI, for example. In fact, they've done whatever they put in the capacity to ensure that the election is conducted free and fairly, and then votes are counted to put it back, and then so on and so forth. Just because they decided to strip the PTI of their bat symbol, which was also upheld by the Supreme Court of Pakistan, by the way. Yes, it's bad for democracy, but if you really follow the letter of the law, and if you take a literal interpretation of law in question, then the party should not have the symbol of bat. And if the PMLN or any other party's intra-party election does not follow the constitution, similarly, they should also be stripped off their election symbols. In that sense, I think Election Commission has come a long way. That's my only argument.
Yeah, see, during the time of General Musharraf, there was in Daily Times, Mr. Ijaz Haider, he did one poll, very interesting debate he started, revolution versus evolution. I also participated in that, and I was, that time I was young, so I was mostly supporting the revolution side, although the evolution part won. And, like the evolution, we saw that what happened when the revolutions came. Imran Khan, he was imposed from there, and then what happened, we all saw that. So, it is a process. I mean, the thing is that it's true that the military is very strong, but the thing is that Parliament has to assert itself. Parliament has to understand that they are the people's voice. They are not being brought from top, So of course, if we make our parliament stronger and everything parliament questions, so there will be a sense of accountability. There will be, and I say sense of accountability because that is very important, that the people perception should be there, that there is an accountability. Faraz, please, you go ahead. Ask.
No, I'm not going to ask, but I will agree with what Umar just said. And in terms of what you just said about revolution, I don't think a fragile country like Pakistan could actually sustain any revolution. Pakistan may enter into civil war if there is a revolution. This is my analysis. And then 9th May was actually an attempt by PTI in their so-called election, revolution. That was their revolution attempt, but unfortunately, their revolution attempt failed. They couldn't do it. It failed, and then when the revolution fails, or their attempt or their definition of revolution failed, and we all saw, we all witnessed, they were congratulating each other on the social media, on the WhatsApp messages. And when it failed, the state would react. And it was a attempt, a coup against a army chief, and it failed. And this is what they are facing. So, I mean, PTI asking for a level playing field. I am all for giving any party a level playing field in the election, but when you do these attempts and these violent attacks on military installation, you have to face, and you are going to face the heat of this. So I don't know what is surprising here by my PTI supporters, PTI's friends, but I think they have done really good job in getting their voters out to the polls, and looks like what I'm witnessing here, PTI has done a pretty decent job, given what they've gone through after 9th May, given their election symbol has been taken away from them, but then still they have done a pretty good job as per what I see in the as the result that are coming out.
Please, Rosa, I really feel compelled to respond to what Mr. Faraz said here. And I'm sorry, I'm taking too much time, but I'll be very quick. Being an economist and being a social scientist, first of all, I want to make it very clear that I personally do not vouch for one party or the other. I would love nothing more than to see my country heal. And elections should, act as a vehicle to achieve that particular objective or that goal. And when we talk about May 9th or revolution, and whosoever may be the one leading the revolution or being the cause of it, we only see the events of May 9th. And we still, in mainstream media, in various forms, we talk about May 9th. But to me, it's a symptom. We don't tend to talk about the underlying political economy factors that led to people being discontent. We can argue the amount of people who felt that way, but there's a sentiment which exists, which prevails, and which perpetuates through Pakistan. That discontentment, that distrust in various institutions of the country. And we don't tend to talk about that. We don't tend to talk about the various scenarios that led to that May 9th happening. And as long as we don't address these issues, we don't rectify these issues, and we don't talk about them, May 9th could be June 11th. June 11th could be August 17th. There's no way. And the way the military has dealt with it, by a strong hand, by literally suppressing and oppressing, it may temporarily address the issue. It may put a band-aid on what the problem is, but it's not the way you deal with the issues. We need political reconciliation. We need to get rid of the polarization. And I doubt that is happening anytime soon, given the way the elections have been, are being held on February 8th, 2024.
No, I agree with Nowroz I agree with Nowroz regarding what he said on the economic issues. And Pakistan has been suffering economically, and it's just not one party. It's just the entire population is suffering due to these economic issues. And keep in mind, all these parties, People's Party has gone through, probably 10x worse what PTI has faced after they were ousted due to the vote of no confidence. PMLN recently suffered under PTI government miserably. We all know their entire leadership was in jail. None of these parties actually flared up and instigated to do something like May 9th. So I understand all this, but I think the economic factor, all of those exist, but none of them justify a party to instigate their supporters to commit an attempt like May 9th.
Marvi.
Yeah, I just I was listening to Faraz, and something struck me. He said that when a revolution attempt like 9th May fails, the state reacts. Well, I think state only reacts on one kind of revolution attempt when it fails. The other kinds, like it happened in August of 2014 when Parliament of Pakistan was attacked, I don't think state had any problem with that, and it didn't react the way it is reacting right now.
It should have, but it should have actually. I agree with you. It should have, but back then PTI was a Ladla party.
Even if it happened today, it wouldn't.
Just 1 second, Marvi. I'm sorry, Faraz, your face is kind of getting out of the. Yeah, just please. Yeah, please go ahead, Marvi. I apologize.
No worries. No. I was just saying that yes, I understand you you think that it should have, the state should have, that you think, and I understand that, but it didn't. And it wouldn't. Let me surprise you. It wouldn't. Even now, the state wouldn't react in the same way if the kind of revolution attempt that happened in August 2014 would happen today. And the state, the media, the civil society would not, mark my words, read my lips, it wouldn't. Nothing has changed.
Yeah, Rabia, you have any comment? You are muted, Rabia, please.
Yes, I was listening to the back and forth on ECP, and I was just thinking of the RTS moment from from July 25, 2018, and knowing, like Marvi saying, nothing has changed. I really appreciate all the reminders, by the way, of like the 2014 reminder, the election reminder that she was giving. So yes, I've just been thinking of the RTS moment. And and it happened, I think, right before midnight last time, that the result transmission system, I think that's what the RTS is called, and it came to a standstill. And we all remember that press conference afterwards, and it was just, I mean, we deal with such things in Pakistan through humor, through memes and all. And we've seen some brilliant memes coming up right before this election or as well. But, and now people are saying, what if they're still waiting, that we might run into an RTS episode again. Hopefully not. But yes, that's what I was thinking of. Comment. I mean, we're speaking about ECP, but to take it back to the media a bit, I also wanted Marvi's comment on this. About the lack of, and we know this is what happens, but I still would want more of her perspective on this thing, that in the lead up to the elections, we've been seeing there was a lot of they were on different issues. There were campaigns in the areas that we call as the peripheries in Pakistan, although they shouldn't be peripheries. They're a big, significant part of the country in KP, Balochistan, GB. And we are still seeing that whatever was happening in, the kind of we saw reporting coming in, or some commentary coming in, or information from certain constituencies in KP. I mean, of course, former Senator Afrasiab Khattak and others are fairly influential, so people pay attention to what they're saying. And that the so-called good Taliban, they were saying, had taken over some of the polling stations. Then we saw in Balochistan, there were reports coming in of boycotts by people, and despite there was one constituency in Balochistan, I've forgotten the name, Zamuran, I feel like, the polling station. In that constituency, the registered voters were 300,000 plus. But the number of votes cast was abysmally low, in dozens or something. So just the lack of focus by our media, digital and mainstream both. I mean, of course, we have like Lok Sujak and others, and we at, like, for instance, at New Wave and others, they do try, but we're a very tiny part of this landscape. Just that it's abysmal to me, that kind of, I think it's borderline unethical, or if not fully unethical, to not focus on those areas at all while reporting on just elections or politics, for that matter. So, Marvi.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you.
Yeah, Raza just joined. Raza, what's going on? We are we were expecting you would join us sometime, and I'm so glad that you joined us, and please comment something, what's going on, what you see.
I'm as informed as you are. I think it's a very early stage of polling results. Clueless, yes, Marvi, thank you. And what it seems is that the independents so far are seeming to be more independents are winning than it was expected. All the media projections and estimates were that, there will be very few independents. In fact, that's what I had also heard. And yesterday I did a vlog here at New Wave, in which I mentioned that, not many independents will win. But so far, the media projections are showing that. But then we also have to be very careful that, this is 5 to 10% of total votes have been counted so far. So we
in
can't make...
Punjab, in
Yes.
Punjab, it's like at an average 4 to 5% votes have been counted. In Sindh, it is like from 7 to 10% votes have been counted.
7 to 10.
But
So
in
let's-
Punjab, what Raza was saying, sorry Raza, I'm interrupting you.
Please, please.
Just that in Punjab, it is surprising for me to see that so far the projections suggest that independents are giving a really hard time to PMLN, which was something I was not expecting at least. But there's a lot of things that have to happen after the counting has just started, and there's just few polling stations. Let's see what happens. I'm just happy that in NA 127, Bilawal is so far being projected as winning, and I really wanted him to win from Punjab, from Lahore, the heart of PMLN, as much as I want PMLN to win from Sindh or any other party to give tough time to PP in Sindh, because a strong opposition in every democracy is very important, and I'm worried about Sindh having eliminated all opposition, almost all opposition. GDA is there on a couple of seats. MQM is there on few seats in Karachi, but by and large, it's a straightforward People's Party that is winning so far.
Yes.
Yeah, GDA is doing pretty bad actually, right?
I was not expecting that.
Yeah.
Yes, but I think this whole you've already discussed. I was watching it on my phone. The mobile services, these are not very good indications. This election, unfortunately, so much people management was done. I want to get their favorable results. But I think that was something alarming. The first thing that the government did in the morning was to shut down the mobile services. Now, this impacts the voter turnout. I think the real key issue here in this election of 2024 is the voter turnout. How far people have actually voted. We don't have figures now, but last election was 51%. So people are claiming that this time it's going to be between 35 to 45%.
Yeah.
These are just indications. And turnout is very important. Regardless of who wins, that is we have to give people the chance to express their will and elect people, candidates of their choice. So what is really important is that there was a high turnout. I hope so. But I think what it seems now is that there will be a coalition government after this. The hopes for a single party government that the PMLN perhaps was hoping after this election might not be possible anymore. I think it seems that there will be a coalition government in which the Pakistan People's Party will have an important role, either as a kingmaker or as a supporting group. So it is, let's see, let's wait for a few more hours to find that out. I mean, these are the initial observations I have, Ms. Basab.
Yeah, it's a good point, and that kind of takes me to another question, and I would, with all your permission, I would start with Norez on this thing, economy. How you see that coming days when the new government will come, how they are going to, as Raza say, and very rightly so, and I think the same way, that there will be a coalition government. So there are a lot of issues they have to face, and if there will be another PDM with Isaac Dar, finance minister, how you see economy would do?
I don't think Isaac Dar will be if there is a coalition government. I don't think Isaac Dar will be the finance minister.
I just made a joke. But like in overall, if it would be like some kind of PDM thing, then what you will do? What we will do?
That's actually an excellent question, and I might find myself repeating a little bit, but I think it's important. And also some of the viewers who've joined us recently, is the fact that these elections are very crucial because of the trust that needs to be re-enabled, that we have lost over the course of the last 1.5 years. May 9th being a huge evidence of how things have polarized and how disruptive things have got. The economy is not looking great at all. I think we've just been pushing the can down the road. And in order to, bring the economy back on, an upwards trajectory, some very key and tough decisions need to be made. And therefore, we need the point of a democratically, autonomously elected government is that it has the mandate and it has the confidence to make those decisions. For example, we've seen that the IMF program was stalled for over 9 months, which led to great depreciation of the currency. We were almost on the verge of default because of the fact that a, a political party that came into being after the vote of the no confidence lacked that sense of confidence, lacked that sense of power that it derives from the masses, and it wasn't being able to make those tough decisions. It had to appease the people. And how do you appease the people? By giving them subsidy on oil, by freezing oil prices. But the call of the day is something else. You're already bleeding your foreign reserves. You do not create oil. You need to import it. So in order to import oil, you need to pay the prices that are at par with the global market, and this puts the drain on the common man. But any party which lacks that confidence, which lacks that legitimacy, will always find it very troublesome to make those key decisions, and that is what I am afraid of going, post the results of this election. Because of the people rigging that Rumi Saab just mentioned, of the discrepancies in the election process that were highlighted by Mavi Saiba, the suppression, the media suppression, the network disruptions that were highlighted by Rabia. All these points that already there has been high amounts of pre-poll rigging, which will impact the voter confidence, and there's going to be a lot of chaos and a lot of questions raised about the legitimacy of the government, which again, it's being projected that it won't be a simple majority. So already it's going to be a coalition government. Coalition governments tend to be more frail and fragile than those who come with clear majorities. So in that end, I do not see that. I envision that the country is going to suffer economically as well. And 1.5 year onwards, we'll be at similar crossroads where there'll be another vote of no confidence maybe propping up. There'll be no improvement in economic indicators, greater unrest, greater agitation in the masses, and things looking very bleak.
Raza, let me give you a scenario here. Assume there are a lot of independents win, and those independents with People's Party, with the MQM, they form a coalition and they make a government. Do you see any scenarios like that happening? And PMLN will be an opposition, and Mia Saab will be opposition leader. Please.
No, I don't see that scenario, because I think even if you look at the early projections, the PMLN is winning quite a bit of seats in the Punjab province. And, that is, unfortunately, that is how a lopsided federation in Pakistan works. If you win a good number of seats in the Punjab, then your ascension to power is kind of, guaranteed. So it will be a coalition. Earlier it was thought that, the PMLN might emerge as a single largest party. Then I'm saying all of this, it's very early to make any claim. So Shahbaz Sharif most likely will be a coalition prime minister. Now the question is whether the Pakistan People's Party will join that coalition like it did in the PDM government after Imran Khan was ousted through a vote of no confidence, or will it be a government of PMLN plus independents plus MQM plus smaller parties? That remains to be seen. And so most likely what is going to happen is that there will be a coalition government, and but of course it's too early to say, because before midnight in Pakistan we won't know exactly where things stand. I mean, Marvi just gave the numbers, 10% of the total votes. Now Norez, you're an economist, that gives a good vibe or a feel, as they say in the slang, but it does not tell you the exact number, because it's a very delicate balance at the polling stations.
Faraz.
Yeah, I think if there is a coalition government, I agree with Raza that Shahbaz Sharif will likely be the prime minister. But I think in terms of the economic issues and the challenges, I think they will do fairly okay. I mean, we can criticize them all we want for their 16 months in the government, but we have to, we did multiple shows with Khurram Hussain in 2019 on Naya Daur, on 2020, 2021. he categorically, I mean, it's on record. He said we are going towards default, and we are heading towards default. And he predicted in 2019 and 2020 that the decisions that Imran Khan government is making now, the dollar will hit 300 plus by 2022. He exactly predict on our Near show. So we have to give him a credit, for basically saving Pakistan from default, and for entering into a new IMF program. So we can criticize them, but I think as a coalition, with all these challenges, when they had it was a pretty big coalition with so much challenges, so much disagreements. They still survived. They still were able to get into the IMF program. They saved Pakistan from going into default. So I think I don't think if there is a coalition government, it will be too bad for Pakistan. I think they will do fairly okay, and they have, they right now Bilawal Bhutto is trying to disown himself and all the decisions that were made in the PDM government. But I think this is all election. This is election time, and this is the reason he did it. But I think once they form a coalition government, they will do fairly okay. And this is my assessment. Ishaq Dar may not be the finance minister, but personally, I don't see any economic. I think they will make tough decision, like the way they did before in their 16 months in government. They basically paid price for it. PMLN actually paid a bigger price for it, but they didn't make the popular decision. They made the right and tough decisions.
Rabia?
I was busy going through some of the election results. I mean, it's super early, as Raza was saying, but I something caught my eye that Saad Rizvi was leading in it's one of his areas, and now that everyone is talking about, who's going to play kingmaker, what's going to, so which party is going to play which role, because there's no one clear majority. What kind of a role do people think that the party like TLP is playing, considering they've played much of a role since 2017, and strategically they end up playing certain roles. So I was just curious about what do people think about TLP's role now, and if they are going to, I mean, it looks like they will get a seat or two. I think they had two in Sindh last time and one in NA. So if Saad Rizvi is in the National Assembly, or or they're going to be in the Punjab as well, what is going to become of our sort of just the security landscape, if nothing else. And I was just seeing there was another attack in Dia Khan on the police. So the Khurasan diaries, they follow such militant attacks, and there was just been another attack, and there are 3 policemen who've been injured. So I mean, this is like within 24 hours they've been continuously been targeted in KP.
Yeah, one thing before Marvi, the shutting down the mobile phone services is not an ideal decision, but we have to look at the challenges that Pakistan is facing. The mobile services is shut down even on the when the religious procession of Muharram takes place, and especially and also during the Rabiul Awwal, these mobile services often are shut down. And we have seen the series of attacks that have taken place in KP, in Balochistan, and even I was speaking to the MKM house in Karachi. They were also very afraid yesterday that there could be a big TTP attack or big this Khorasan diaries and all these other extremist group could actually conduct an attack. So even political parties themselves were afraid. And if you remember, now Marvi and everybody would remember that in 2008, the series of attacks that were taking place in KP, the People's Party and ANP could not even protest. It was only Jamaat Islami and PTI that were allowed to, they were not even able to conduct their rallies. It was only PTI and Jamaat Islami that were allowed to conduct the election campaign in KP and Balochistan. People's Party and ANP were basically not giving the fair level playing field. So I know it's not an ideal decision, but if my mobile service, if I'm in Pakistan, if my mobile service is off, I will still go and vote. I mean, it doesn't stop me from voting.
I think it's sorry, but it's quite simplistic to say that the interruption in internet access does not interfere with people's freedom of movement and freedom to do anything. And I would not give this leeway to any government that indulges in this kind of digital authoritarianism. It is in straightforward contravention and violation of ICPRs, on which Pakistan is signatory, by the way. ICPR's Article 19, Pakistan's own Article 19. For heaven's sake, why are we giving the government so much of benefit of doubt? And it is not about security. For heaven's sake, it is not about security. We have seen in the past, whenever these religious events took place, there were attacks. People died despite interruption in the internet. Internet was interrupted on these occasions all the time, but unfortunate incidents happened still. So, which means that internet is not the culprit. It's not women's dress that are culprit for the rain. So, we are actually giving a very, very wrong impression to people when we are telling them that, oh, it's your own security, for which you should sacrifice your rights, your fundamental rights. No. Pakistan is signatory on this. Pakistan's constitution says so. So Pakistan's government should better refrain from this kind of authoritarianism. And I'm speaking directly to if he watches this, my old and dear friend Murtaza Solanki, who promised yesterday that government will not interrupt people's access to internet. It still did, and there is absolutely no justification for that. Absolutely no justification for that, because it has been interrupted across the board, not just in the areas where they feared, oh, there will be terrorism. No, they across the board. And if people's movement and people's freedom is unaffected, how is government taking benefit from it? So I categorically reject this, and I protest this on behalf of the people, human rights defenders. One thing. And the second thing is about I'm just finishing, Ms. Prasad.
Sure, please go ahead.
Just
please.
2 sentences.
Yes,
the other point that I wanted to flag was the earlier discussion about the coalition government. Yes, coalition governments might be bad when the coalitions are like the coalition between People's Party and PMLN, because they are diametrically opposed. Their policies, their manifestos, look at their manifestos. Their manifestos scream to different approaches to economy, social development, human development, everything. They're different. So when they are put together, the Bhanmati Ka Kunba, they will not be able to do anything. And it will be a farce. But coalitions are not always bad. We have seen coalitions in different countries who have worked. And I think we should not resent coalitions so much, because the coalition, when one simple majority for one party actually paves the way for majoritarianism in democracies. And we have seen that in India recently. I think this kind of uniformity and majoritarianism we should be very watchful of that. The coalition governments with the smaller parties, with the regional parties, with, ethnic minority parties, that actually gives color to democracy, that actually ensures diversity, that also ensures the bargaining power of the marginalized group. So we should not resent that. I would like a party that is all-women political party, once all-women political party, and that should also be in a bargaining position like this. Someday, maybe. But yeah, that was my position on coalition.
Faraz, you want to make a comment, and then I will go to Norez.
No, I'm good. I don't want to make a comment. I respect what Marvi said, and I'm not supporting the mobile phone service should be shut up. But if there are security, and we saw what happened in Balochistan, we saw these recent attacks, and I'm not saying that this is an ideal situation, but quite honestly, when I speak to the security officers, and I've had the opportunity to speak some of them back when I was in Pakistan multiple times, these mobile phone, most of these attacks and the coordination were conducted through the mobile phones among the terrorists to conduct these attacks. I mean, mobile phone is actually is used, and so does the internet. And the Muharram processions multiple attacks were countered and were avoided because the mobile phone services was off during Muharram. and there are multiple evidence of that as well. So I'm not saying this is an ideal
but for us,
situation.
the point is that what
Yeah.
Marvi is raising, that like it is across the board. I mean, the thing is that if you
And
feel
this is on exactly, and during
something,
Muharram it is across the board too.
It's
During
not Muharram today.
No,
Maybe
I
for some
understand.
parties. It's not Muharram.
But the
You know,
And
effect,
in Muharram
and
as well,
and I
mobile
don't
phone
agree with
interruption
the
has not
Muharram point
saved us
either.
from terrorism. And whenever there have been terrorist attacks, while mobile phone
oh,
access
I
was.
agree. I
So it's
agree.
not,
But there were multiple
it doesn't save
terrorist
us
attacks
from
were avoided
terrorism.
due to by having mobile service shut down. I'm not supporting that this is an ideal situation, but we are not in an ideal situation in Pakistan since I believe
So we
2001.
should accept it. No,
No, I'm not saying we
I
should
will not
accept it, but I
accept it.
think, but what
Can
I'm
I come
saying is,
in
if
and say that I used to report on Muharram for television in 2009 and 10 and 11, 12. That was the height of,
Yeah.
when such attacks were taking place. And just the idea of suspension and most of those years, Rana Sanaullah, it's a Rana Sanaulahism in Punjab, very much like suspend kar do, just shut it down, just ban this, just do this, and that'll work. And just the idea of and those were not pleasant moments. That was not okay. Banning, suspending Twitter on a particular day, blocking Facebook on a certain day, the quick kill switch which is used to suspend internet services and cell phone, it leads to more chaos. I think although I do appreciate that point of view, that yes, the security officers are always going to have one perspective, the law enforcement and counter-terrorism, but it's an authoritarian measure and it's applied in a blanket form. And I doubt if they have the data to prove something which proves
Support
their
that, yeah.
point.
Yeah.
We don't know that. There's no transparency in when such decisions are taking place. And we've seen that today. PTA is saying nothing has happened, and the ISPR is congratulating the country on a peaceful sort of, day. So,
Yeah, I saw that
Yeah.
note.
And
I just saw
for us, you should
one
you
thing, and
should
one
do
thing,
reports by every year. There's an annual report on international landscape, internet landscape, Pakistan's digital rights landscape, by Bytes for All. There's an annual report. I write the foreword for the report every year, so I know what is there in the report. You should please go and read the reports. It's not, the data does not support whatever data we have. As Rabia said, it's the least of transparency in that. But whatever data we have from open source in INT, it does not support the point of view that the government ministers are giving us, that it's your security. We are trying to save you from terrorism, and that is why we are violating your rights.
Norris.
Yes. Actually, I just want to add another perspective to it as well, and I feel compelled to share. I was just sitting on a panel just a couple of days ago, and one of the participants was Hamza Javed. He's a CEO of Bazaar Technologies that has raised over $100 million in investment. And he raised a very great point. He said that whenever we speak to foreign investors, they don't really care much about what's happening politically, whether there's unrest, whether there's some bombings or whatnot. But whenever there's a Forbes headline which tends to state that internet was disrupted for 2 days, or internet is going to be disrupted for a period of 1 day, he said this is the one key factor which they take into consideration when investing into Pakistan. So it's detrimental to the economy, not just from the political point of view, but the fact that we use this as an umbrella policy, as a measure that we need to, the argument being security, of course, and then it disrupts the election process, it disrupts the economy. It has so much negative aspects, externalities to it, which are never factored in. I don't think there's any justification possible, whether there's election happening, whether there's a Muharram procession or whatnot, that can be leveraged to, outrightly disrupt network coverage in Pakistan.
Yeah, so we are looking into like the results are still not that, and there is some talk going on that results are kind of slowed down. And anybody hear that? Rabia, you have any information?
I've just looking at TV is the biggest source at the moment for the results coming in. And what I was seeing was this, I mean, I don't know if it's slowed down, but if there are like 556 polling station at an area, only 12 or 14 results from 12 or 14 have come out. So that's what I mean. There are trends to show certain candidates and certain independents or certain parties being in the lead, but we don't really know what's happening, and I don't want to comment on anything before we have a clearer picture. But yes, I'm still apprehensive about the RTS moment. My colleague Kesar has a message, who's our producer for today, and he's saying that TLP is also leading in NA48 because he's observing it with the Neodor team. What was that? So NA48, and they're leading in NA48, and NA50 is Saad. That was the constituency's result I'd seen in which he was leading, and NA48 is also TLP. So just adding to the TLP concern. Which is a big concern, of course.
Yeah,
and if it is the same where Mustafa Nawaz Khokar was contesting?
I actually don't know. I know that in NA50 it was Iman Wasim or PTI, but
because NA49 or NA48, one of them, Mustafa Nawaz Khokar was contesting from.
Okay, let me. Mustafa is in 48. Yes.
Oh, dear Lord. So I was hoping he would win.
So Mustafa Nawaz Khokar is
former
losing.
PDP.
Independent. He's independent.
Yeah, he's independent.
Yeah, no, so he's losing, or he's
no, it's TLP is in lead from there.
TLP is in
lead. Yeah, what it looks so far. Yes.
Yeah, so
he's at number 2.
Let's have everyone's comment. I will start with Faraz. Faraz, for A, what do you see? What type of coalition government will be there? B, with these religious groups, strong religious groups, how you see things will proceed?
So we
if this is true, of course.
So first of all, religious group. I mean,
conjectures here.
The religious, I think the religious party, especially let's talk about TLP. TLP, over the last 6 years, TLP has actually gained popularity. TLP has actually organized itself, especially in Punjab and Karachi. They have further organized. Many of us thought that after the death of the Rizvi Saab, Rizvi Saab, it will deteriorate, but it didn't deteriorate actually. His son has taken over. So I think those factors exist, and then you also have to consider these sectarian ban outfits that under the new name they operate, and they are also contesting election with a new name with the same leadership, and these people are basically given level playing field when they shouldn't. But anyway, I don't want to get into that argument, but they will make it. They will win few seats. I have no doubt they will be able to win few seats. I will be surprised if they win over 10 seats, but between 5 to 7 seats they could win actually. These ban outfits, previously ban outfits, now I guess they are no longer ban outfit, and TLP combined.
Rabia.
I do. If they make it to, even a provincial or a national assembly, I do see them being the way they have been used in the past. And we've seen how they were used last year in parts of Punjab and Jaranwala. I don't see anything outside that sort of, the game for more political control in Punjab. And I do see them that they are kind of used. They have been used to disrupt elections and impact voting patterns and trends, and they have gotten more popular. They have organized very much, despite suspension of their because of the dangerous campaigns they've run online. They've been they haven't been allowed to for the past few months, but it's very the way they've carried on in Karachi and in Sindh and in Punjab when it comes to targeting of Ahmadis, the targeting of Christians, using the blasphemy card. They've used it so much that now all the other groups, the Khatm Nabuwat groups and others, they have all taken a step back, and it's only TLP which is leading these mobs, organizing these mobs, and they have the power to create a situation in any constituency, in any area, if they want to, unfortunately. And we've seen that with like how the police responds to when they organize something, or they're orchestrating mobs. And the TLP and its influence is linked to it. It's not that other parties don't have right-wing candidates, or they haven't the Jamaat Islamis and JUIFs, and even PTI, PML, and PPP to a lesser degree. But I am worried about them being more stronger, coming out more stronger after today.
Yeah. Norris.
So first thing, I think exactly I would mimic what Rabia said. They would win just about enough seats so that they can be used for the same purposes that they were used previously. Another thing that I would want to point out is that we're forgetting a newer party, like the same faces, but a newer party, that's the IPP, that's come into play. And especially with the PTI independents who will come to the forefront, whosoever wins, how would that impact? If some of them do merge with IPP, given that there's some sort of familiarity, people that they worked with before, and how would that change the dynamics as we talk about the government being formed up? What various forms of coalition could there be? So there's an additional possibility. But in the end, I think, to summarize it, there'll be a number of various bargaining chips that we need to be kind of wary of. And the last thing, before Rumi Saab left somewhere when he was speaking, he very subtly said that Shahbaz Sharif would be the prime minister of the coalition government.
He was not there, otherwise I would ask him that question.
Right. So what that means is, and I think what he was trying to imply, and then again in a subtle manner, is that while Nawaz Sharif has been brought up, the cases against him have been taken back. Now he's in the possibility, and what PMLN and he himself would be hopeful of would be becoming the prime minister for the fourth time. But the dynamics, maybe, there's some information that we're not aware of that, Rumi Saab might be aware of better.
Yeah,
but that points, that signals, that the coalition would be such that they might be receptive to PMLN being, the leading party, but not enough to endorse Nawaz Sharif as the prime minister. So there'll be a lot of bargaining and coalition.
No, I think there has been a news out there that the decision within the PMLN was already made, that if they don't win simple majority, then basically Shahbaz Sharif will be the prime minister. But if they do win simple majority, then Nawaz Sharif will be the prime minister. That decision was made within the PMLN, and I think that news has been out there for a while.
I see. Mari, your take on the religious parties' roles and Shahbaz Sharif being a prime minister. Norris raised another good point.
Well, I don't have anything in addition to what has already been said very, succinctly by Rabia and Norris and Faraz as well. I do agree with everything they say on how these religious parties have been used, especially the fringes. Like, they're not fringe actually, but you know what I'm saying, like TLP. They have been one thing that they were petty Maulvis, mullahs from the Mahalla masjids. They were not an experienced political party. It always amazes me how they were remaining under the radar. They were helped so much to emerge as a political party, organize themselves as a political party to reckon with. And that should not be mystery. Who has helped them become what they have become in few years? This party did not exist. The name actually started. We started hearing the name just a few years ago, just ahead of 2018 elections, and look at what they have become, and how they were helped in 2018 elections in Karachi. Imagine people who used to vote for MQM, the alternate force for them was either Jamaat Islami or in some Karachi constituencies TLP. Now I see TLP candidates winning in few constituencies in Karachi even today. The projections are very initial stages, but they do give us some inkling of the trends. So the trend is TLP, but this will not TLP or any religious political party would not completely win and be in a comfortable position to even make coalition as a prominent dominant partner. No, that's not going to happen. They have not done this with even JUIF. JUIF is in a very strong position in the tribal areas of Khyber Pakhtunkhwa. And that is why they were rooting for a separate province. When, you remember when FATA merger was happening, JUIF was against it because they wanted a separate province so that there is at least one province in which they could comfortably make the government, because there is no other opposition. It's like Sindh, where there is nothing else but People's Party. So in the tribal areas, it's almost the same. You can see Mohsin Dawards and Ali Wazirs in some constituencies, but it's predominantly JUIF. But you will not find JUIF in a position to form a government or be a predominant part of the government in KP. So far, it hasn't happened. Even when the MMA government was there, that was an aberration in the system, and that aberration was used by the military dictator, by the military establishment for their own purposes, because the 9/11 had happened, and so
they want to pressure the West that geez,
but now the situation now is that even the MMA kind of marriage of convenience is not going to happen. So TLP will remain a little it has its they will be used for as nuisance value, or maybe like Imran Khan was used as useful as idiot. So like a little Imran Khan may be used because they have the street power. They don't just need the electoral power, the power of ballot. They also need the street power to disrupt whatever they want to disrupt. And for that purpose, they will keep TLP in their, pocket.
Yes. So, ladies and gentlemen, that brings me to my last question. And I would like to have a comment. I will start with Marvi, then I will go to Norez, then Rabia, and Faraz will conclude it. I have some theory, ladies and gentlemen, and I have been talking to Faraz about it for some time, that in this elections, they will break the, and when I say they, you all know who is they. They will break PTI, then they will have independents in the parliament who will be pretty stronger, and then new PTI or new group will be formed to control the parliament proceedings and still keep the control in their hand, which they wanted to do it through Imran Khan, but little bit more, quote unquote, I would not call it a benign way, but less aggressive way. Marvi, please, you have your comment.
Oh, I have no doubt. I mean, what makes you think that they cannot control if the traditional parties are there in decisive position in the parliament? They can. They have done it
because history tells that time to time they just get out of their control, and then they have to go through dharnas and all that and things like that.
When they get out of control, they fix them. So I don't think they have any problem in manipulating the legislative power of parliament. They have done it. They want whatever they want out of the legislation process they get, and we have seen it. The political parties have to budge in, or they have to go out. So I don't think they have, but I think they have learned from Imran Khan project that they do not want any leader or any political party to grow out of its skin, and they want to keep check on everyone. And that is why I do not think that they want to break PTI. I think they would keep PTI in some semblance there in even in the parliament in the next mandate. But they will keep I think it's in their interest if you look at it logically, it's not. I mean, I'm not saying it from the love or hate of for any party. I think it's in their interest, in the interest of the establishment, to not let any party make be comfortable in the power structure. And that is why I don't think they will support PMLN or People's Party. They might support People's Party to sneak in Punjab, but not much.
Not
They
much.
might. They might help GDA and MQM and Jamaat Islami and TLP in Sindh. Well, Balochistan is entirely in their control. So is, and they will now, we have to see what happens in KP. Because in KP, so far, the independents are emerged as the big power so far. We can't say with anything with certainty, but so far they're emerging. And there is JUIF factor. There's very little ANP factor, but a lot of independence. So this remains to be seen how they will use these independents, because the independents, they have the freedom to go whichever way they want, whichever way the power over them wants them to go. So it's just remains to be seen what happens. But I don't think PTI, they want to eradicate PTI or eliminate PTI. You see, I am sensing from here, I'm sensing little support from here and there from within the system for PTI. I'm not saying that PTI is not going through what they're going through. I'm just saying that I can sense a little, a little shoulder for them to lean on. So I'm not seeing Pakistan's political system sans PTI in next 5 years.
No race.
So, Mr. Saab, I think that the establishment is the strongest that it has been and is likely to be after the elections in terms of the control it has over the system that is being ensured and it is being orchestrated through the election landscape. But at the same time, it is at its weakest given the endorsement and the acceptance it drives from the public, that is the population of Pakistan. So there are two phases on how things will evolve post the elections based on what I think. A, it's going to be a very hybrid form of a government like it was before that, maybe even more stricter. But then at the same time, the establishment is likely going to work on a game plan to prop up its image that it has kind of somewhat that has wavered over the course of the last 1.5 years. So it is going to start working on that game plan again. And I mean, I don't want to draw too much attention to it, but just referring to how things have happened historically, whenever there's this time period of the Chief of Army's extension, we see that
is very good point.
Extension, then the policies, the public sentiment, the political sentiment is shaped. So I think the policies with respect to army's control and how they take it forward, in tandem with the democratic government, would be different the next 1.5 year before the extension period. Things will be different during that when those discussions start happening, and then the reimagining phase of the civilian military relationship would define going to another phase after, contingent upon how the extension discussions happen to take shape. But yes, I have to agree that everything being orchestrated to ensure that the military's control, is in complete grip.
Yeah, I think PTI will exist. I agree with Nowroz and I agree with Marvi, but I believe
no race.
Sorry, no
I
race.
was keep calling him Nowroz.
Sorry, no race.
Thank you. Thank you. No, thank you for the correction.
Sorry, no race. So but I believe PTI is basically Imran Khan. If there is no Imran Khan, there is no PTI, meaning the PTI that we knew of, right? It will be a different form of PTI. Yeah, PTI. I mean, even IPP is somewhat like a PTI, right? So I don't know what we call PTI, but PTI is Imran Khan, but there will be some other party which all these ex-PTIans will be part of, which we see right now as Bahar Khan and all those folks. So that will exist, and I think they will then, and many of these folks, I don't have any evidence, but I have no doubts many of these are already in contact with establishment. There has been serious allegation on people like Sher Afzal Marwat. So many of these folks are in contact with establishment, but I do know many of these are also in contact with PMLN and People's Party. So who knows what will happen after, but I think they will exist, and they will again be the nuisance value. They will shift whenever needs to be a pressure that needs to be applied on the prime minister. So all these factors will continue to play. But unfortunately, I do want to also comment on the earlier what we discussed on the religious extremist group.
Yeah, please go ahead.
They will play the same role what these extremist religious party like TLP and sectarian ban outfits play when needs to be destabilization of democracy needs to happen. These people and these groups will come in play.
Hmm. Any other comment before I conclude the show? Marvi, Norris?
We have spoken a lot. I think
So thank you very much for staying for 2 long hours, and it was a very nice discussion. I try to talk more what is not being talked on the regular channels. I wanted to understand how we see it from outside the country. I mean, outside Pakistan, how we see that.
And I do hope, Ms. Basa, if you allow, I do hope
go ahead,
that people like Gibran Nasir and Ammar Ali Jan, they are able to make it. I personally have campaigned for them, for Gibran Nasir. He was on our show last week. So I'm hoping that people like these are given the opportunity to make a difference. One of those points these days when I agree.
I mean, you are very polite. Come on.
Oh, thank you.
I am so I've now gotten used to of the criticism. So I know before I even make the comment, I know that I will be given a big lecture from Marvi, and I'm always prepared for that.
See, you know what is the surprise for me? Actually, once again, I say results are not completely out. That Salman Akram Raja is losing. I mean, he's trailing. I was surprised to see.
Really? Is he losing?
Yeah, at least initially.
Last when I saw NA1 in NA whatever so Nawaz Sharif was also losing from Doctor Lahore Doctor
Yasmin
Rashid. She was like 1,000 votes ahead, but then it's just 1% polling station. So.
Yeah, now she's like 3,000 behind.
Oh, okay.
But it's still the lot to come. I mean, it is only 50%, less than 50%, actually, with 30%.
Okay, Kesar is saying Nawaz is winning now. Yeah. Thank you, Kesar.
Yeah, but Mansera probably he's losing.
No, in Mansera too, he's winning.
Oh, he's winning. Oh,
yeah,
okay.
He's winning from.
Okay. Yeah. See,
Bilawal was winning from NA27, 127, I think.
Bilawal winning, right?
A while ago, but it keeps changing.
Yeah, that's true. It's still to go. Rabia, since you are cut out for some time, you have any last comment before I conclude the show?
Yes, my internet. I had mentioned at the beginning. Apologize for my internet in advance. So it totally collapsed, and when Marvi was speaking, I was listening to some of her commentary. Yes, I mean, it's too early. Like we've seen some of these, results changing or evolving, if I can call it that. With regards to your point about there being another party in the next few years or a version of another party, we all keep hearing about another setup or another alternate, like the new post-PTI situation. Yes, the new experiment with the technocrats and some of the very good politicians who have very good image from in different parties, PPP, PMLN, who are not part of their parties anymore, that they were going to be part of this new setup. We keep hearing that. It's just it isn't very encouraging to me, because not that we shouldn't have new people. I mean, I want new people to join these parties, the PPP, PMLNs, to have young blood injected into them, which doesn't come from these families. But I'm just skeptical because it looks like it sometimes feel like we're stuck in a cycle. A lot of the young people don't remember the Musharraf eras or the era right after, and some of our seniors remember the time even before that, what happened in the 99. I remember how in my school students celebrated when assemblies were dissolved before 97, and it was just horrifying. We didn't know what it meant, but everyone celebrated because we were in Lahore, and Lahore was a stronghold of PMLN at that time. So now one understands that it feels like we're stuck in a cycle. I just want it to be over and for us to have some stability, which is I feel like asking for too much at the moment.
Yeah. So
one thing before you conclude, Misbah Saab,
sure.
There is this has always been the strategy of PTI. We know of it, that they wanted this election to portray as being completely rigged and completely disconnected and controversial. So as the projections are coming and there are a lot of independent winning on a lot of seats, with 1 or 2% or 3% of polling station results. But I think, and I'm told that Gohar Khan is in half an hour or so, he has decided to give a victory speech based on these 2-3% results. So what will happen is that after his victory speech, PTI would be in a comfortable position to claim, oh, we were winning and the elections were snatched from us. So I think this is going to be their strategy now.
I think PMLN should do the same then, and so should People's Party.
So that it's all tamasha.
That's true.
As we say in Punjab, it's ke khana.
Those things will happen for sure. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for staying with us. My guests, they stayed with me for 2 full hours, and thank you for them. And Marvi is always very kind to joining us, but Rabia and Noresh, they joined first time, and we are hoping they will be joining us not only in our English show, but also in our Urdu show, Azad Labon Ke Saath. So coming days, we will be talking more. And as Marvi mentioned in the end, that a lot of action is about to be unleashed after the elections. And we will be talking maybe for some more time. And of course, then economy and all that, Noresh will be helping us in that also. I hope, Noresh, you speak Urdu also, right? Or you don't?
Ji, bilkul.
I'm just joking.
शक्ल से वो जरा गोरे और
नहीं जी मैं बिल्कुल जी पला बड़ा लाहौर का हूं तो
ਦੱਸੋ ਪੰਜਾਬੀ ਬੋਲਦੇ ਹੋ ਨਹੀਂ ਬੋਲਦੇ ਪੰਜਾਬੀ ਜਾਣਦੇ ਹੋ
ਬਿਲकुल ਬੋਲਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਜੀ ਬਿਲकुल ਜਾਣਦੇ
ਹਾਂ ਪੰਜਾਬੀ ਚ ਗੱਲ ਕਰਾਂਗੇ
ਕਰੋ ਤੁਸੀਂ
Okay, so with that I conclude the show. Thank you very much, and thank you very much, Peter. And he is the one, our producer. He made all the arrangements for us, and please keep doing the good job. And we will see you again on Sunday in